I've known my friend John Barcanic, who's featured in this video, for close to 25 years. He actually, among lots of other things, he does consulting and coaching with worship leaders in the Chicago area. He is actually on the board of directors for our ministry. That's how much respect I have for John. And as we sat and talked recently, he said a number of profound things, and you'll see John come up in these videos over and over. But one of the things that he said just really struck me, where he talked about how our worship, when we gather together congregationally, that should impact, it should affect all of our life. And I think he's right. And I hope you're anywhere close to being as challenged by what he says here as I was when he said it. Take a look.
I think the primary role of the worship leader is to equip people to worship, and to equip them to respond with all that they are to all that God is and says and does. Some of that happens in the Sunday morning event where we worship, but I think we also need to remember that we're equipping people to worship outside of that context as well, to be worshipers, to see ourselves as worshipers. There's a whole lot that goes into that. But if we see ourselves primarily as equippers, I think that changes the paradigm some. It certainly did for me, because I didn't, when I first started in worship leading, I saw it more as a performance than anything else. And over time, God showed me that in the same way that a teaching pastor is there to equip through teaching, the worship pastor is there to equip for worship through worship.
Okay, John, that's great. But what does that look like? What does that mean for us in practical terms?
So when we participate in worship, think of a Sunday morning service, for instance, much of the worship part of it is singing, congregational singing, which is good, and that's biblical. We're encouraged to do that. That event in itself is important, and as worship leaders, we want to worship in a way that leads others to worship, and we want to help them engage. We want to minimize distractions, but I don't think we often think about, or don't often realize, what the kind of long-term effect of that is. So, for instance, exercise. If you exercise in the morning, you burn a certain number of calories, which is good. But if you exercise in the morning and burn those calories, your body then continues to burn more calories throughout the day. And we don't think about exercise like that necessarily, but physically that's what happens. So it is with worship. We worship Sunday in service, but what we've done there has impact in all of our lives as we go throughout our week. So, for instance, I go to church, participate in worship on Sunday morning. Tuesday morning, I wake up, and there's been a huge blizzard in Chicago, and my car's buried under the snow. I'm going to be late for work. How do I respond to that? Well, my worship experience on Sunday is going to help inform that. The songs that we've sung will help inform that. I get to work, I'm late, my boss is mad, maybe I got a pink slip in my mailbox and I've just been laid off, or whatever the things are that I face, the activities and the way that we have engaged people with the Lord on Sunday mornings inform all of that. So everything from the songs we choose, the lyrics that we're teaching people, the singability of it. So does it get stuck in people's heads so that those truths are rattling around in their brains? To all of those things will affect how I follow Jesus, and the way that God's word and his spirit can work in my life, not just in the moment, which is important, but as I go throughout my week.
Wow, what a great concept. But what should that mean for how we think, what our mindset should be as we're looking at our Sunday morning service?
I'm primarily thinking about how do I equip this group of people to worship God, as opposed to how do I put on a cool event, or how do I, just lead singing on a Sunday morning.
I told you at the beginning, I hope you're challenged, and I really do hope you're challenged by this. The whole mindset of what we do, I think needs to change radically for many people. Because so often we have the idea that what we're doing, like John said there at the beginning, is we're putting on an event. We're just leading people in worship for Sunday morning. But what if? What if the bigger picture says that what we're doing there is going to affect their lives? See, then we start thinking about it all differently. We start thinking about how those songs could potentially affect people. How will those lyrics make a difference in their life day to day? See, I think ultimately he's right. Worship should impact all of life. And when we have that thinking, that mentality, it's going to change how we do things. And I want to challenge you to really consider this. What does this mean for you as a worship leader? How is this going to impact long-term what you do, what you bring to your congregation on Sunday morning?
Brought to you by myworshipleadingcoach.com.
Helping you to be more fully equipped as a worship leader.